I'm Jo Ruddock, Content Editor at SVG Europe, and I'm here with Steve Reynolds, President of Imagine Communications. So Steve, tell us what Imagine's been up to and what your plans are for 2022.
Joe, thanks for having me here today. A lot of good stuff to talk about. Let me just start off with what Imagine has been doing in the area of production and contribution. I think a lot of the SVG attendees will be interested in hearing the latest update on that. The focus for us over the course of the last couple of years has really been around this migration towards IP as the principal technology that's being used for production, for contribution, and even for origination of content. A lot of what we've been working on has been focused around the SMPTE ST2110 standard and the other standards that are related to that. Imagine chose to go down that path because we really believed that an open standards-based architecture was what was going to be required by the industry in order to move towards IP as being the principal means for doing production. I think, over the course of the last couple of years, that really has proven to be exactly the right path. The move towards 2110 is now really a global movement. It's not just a standard for the United States and for Western Europe. It's a standard that's been adopted globally. We see projects, and in fact, there are probably hundreds of successful projects at this point in time that have been conducted using ST2110 as the operating standard. Some of the examples of things that we've been working on recently, obviously the games that took place in Tokyo and in Beijing were largely powered by 2110. These were IP-based productions of just enormous scale, hundreds of cameras, hundreds of feeds, thousands of microphones around those facilities, all of it being orchestrated through a 2110 infrastructure. Imagine worked very closely with EMG to provide feeds for their networks in Europe. And built all of that around 2110. The principal pieces of technology that we used were our SNP, that's the Selenium Network Processor, which is our IP-based gateway and IP-based processing device, and SDNO, the Magellan Software-Defined Networking Orchestrator, which is the control system for these large IP-based networks, interoperable with all of the manufacturers that are part of the 2110 community and that support the AIMS initiative. But really bringing that kind of a control plane in to make sure that there is a centralized design, centralized command and control, and an interoperability layer to ensure that our customers can work with multiple manufacturers. Another important set of work that we've been doing over the course of the last year or so is with the NFL networks. The facility that they built in Los Angeles and a lot of the work that they did around the Super Bowl just a few weeks ago, also based entirely around IP. That is a 2110 core system. And one of the things that the NFL networks decided to do was to actually build their entire multi-viewing operation around 2110. They selected Imagine's SNP multi-viewer as the core of what they wanted to build out there, and they did that for a couple of reasons. One of them obviously is the world-class performance that you get out of the SNP when you use it in its multi-viewer mode. And I should clarify that the SNP is a platform that you're able to program personality modules into. So when we talk about SNP in a production workflow like the Beijing games, a lot of those devices were loaded with gateway personality modules or processing personality modules for HDR and UHD and color space adaptations. There are another set of personality modules that you can load into that very same piece of hardware, that SNP hardware, to turn it into a multi-viewer. In that case, what you get is the industry's lowest latency, most flexible multi-viewer. And that's why the NFL Networks guys chose the SNP for their multi-viewer. They needed that performance, but they also needed the flexibility and the TCO optimization that you get out of the SNP platform when you use it as a multi-viewer. It is a very cost-effective solution. And because you can relicense different software modules to put into that S&P, it also gives them a lot of flexibility and a lot of scalability as they move forward and continue to build their operation around 2110.
Okay, and there's been a lot of talk about cloud recently. Can you tell me what Imagine is doing in supporting cloud production?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that's happened over the course of the last couple of years with COVID and the pandemic, in my opinion, advanced the state of the art around cloud-based production and cloud-based origination. We probably made 5 years of progress in just 2 years, and it was out of necessity. Because so many facilities had to be locked down because we were trying to keep the crew, and I mean both the on-camera and behind-the-camera crews, safe and socially isolated. There was just a need to move to a much more remote and a much more distributed model for doing production and origination. From Imagine's standpoint, what a lot of that has meant for us is moving towards a model where there can be a crew on the ground that's actually doing the production work of capturing an event, but then giving them tools to be able to easily contribute that material up into cloud and then control playout and origination from a distributed workforce. Some good examples of that, the work that we've been doing with the Tennis Channel. Obviously tennis is a global sport, and you have these major tournaments that occur all over the world. So they needed to be able to have teams on the ground that were doing IP-based production work and then contribute that up into their centralized facility, which actually is a hybrid facility. A lot of the origination, meaning the actual playout of the streams, is coming from Amazon at this point in time. They have Imagine Versios that have been staged in that Amazon environment, and they have the ability to use those for channel playout for the traditional kind of broadcast distribution model. But they're also using Versios to do streaming. So they have the ability to configure a Versio to effectively be their OTT source. Those Versios are controlled from another facility, an on-the-ground master control facility, which gives them kind of the best of both worlds. They now have the ability to do hybrid production and hybrid origination by leveraging the equipment and the talent that they have in their physical facilities, but then take advantage of the scalability and the elasticity and the flexibility that cloud brings in terms of originating those feeds and doing everything that you would associate with broadcast origination, right? They're doing graphics, they're managing commercial insertions, they're handling closed captioning. All of those things are actually happening from cloud instances. The other thing that we've seen happening around cloud is a move towards what we call a revenue protection production model. So by leveraging cloud, what our customers have been able to do is take mission critical functionality and move it into cloud for business continuity and for revenue protection. Some of the things that have happened over the course of the last couple of years with cyber attacks and ransomware, obviously of great concern to our customers. And that pertains, certainly to the production side of the business. They need to be able to make sure that the events that they're capturing and the rights that they've paid for are being protected. So they move a lot of that stuff up into cloud. And then from the origination point of view, they want to make sure that they've got business continuity. They want to make sure that they have the ability to play out and generate those streams and handle advertising insertion, even in the event that a corporate network is compromised or a facility is compromised. And that's really one of the great things that cloud brings to our customers. It's geographically isolated. It's isolated, into a different operating environment, different availability zone structure. And these cloud platforms are very secure. If you look at the amount of of resource and money and people at places like Amazon and Azure and Google, the amount of resource that they focus on keeping their networks secure, it really does give our customers a sense of confidence and a sense of security around those continuing operations. So we believe that those kinds of revenue protection models, whether it's for business continuity or whether it's for disaster recovery, is going to continue to be a very prevalent model. We see a lot of motion in that direction. I should note, by the way, I often talk about Imagine's relationship with Amazon. We do have relationships with other cloud providers. We are working all around the world with regional providers of cloud to implement some of these exact same things in other regions with other cloud providers. So the kinds of things I've been talking about with cloud-based production or contribution to cloud or revenue protection services that are made available in cloud, we are working with partners beyond Amazon to ensure that that really is a global strategy with a global footprint that our customers can rely on.
That's brilliant. Thank you for your time today, Steve.
Thanks, Joe.